We all have weaknesses, but too often we let them define us, or we allow them to make us feel hopeless and that we are incapable of improvements or change in our life. Today we're going to talk about not only how we can address our weaknesses, but how we can actually turn them into our strengths. Welcome back. My name's Nena and I'm a life coach that specializes in personal development. Here at this channel we talk all about our emotional well-being, understanding our own psychology, and leading our best life possible. So if you aren't already a subscriber, please take a moment and become one. We definitely want you to stay connected. So yes, it's true. Everybody has things that they don't love about themselves, or what we could call weaknesses. But we do have to understand that anything and everything in our life is always transformable. We are able to change anything and everything about our own selves. So often it's just ourselves that's really stopping us from doing that because we don't believe that it is actually a possibility. So let's jump right into a list of strategies that we can use to really start to take our weaknesses and turn them into our strengths. Now, the first part of this process is, of course, to identify what our weaknesses actually are. Now, you could be a person that is extremely aware of what they feel that their weaknesses are, or you might be a person that actually needs to do a lot of introspection to really make this determination. And these could be pretty much anything. It could be skills or abilities. It could be emotional responses. It could be character attributes, or it could just be habits. It could be anything that you would be considering as a weakness. Then from there, we want to get clear about how these weaknesses are actually impacting your life. So how are they actually holding you back? That's the most important thing to determine. So if we have weaknesses, but they really don't affect anything, then it's really not that problematic. But if we have a weakness that is really causing trouble in our life, that's certainly something that we want to address and correct. So once we have really determined what our weaknesses are and how they are really holding us back in our life, we can actually move on to something that's a lot more positive, which is figuring out what the corresponding strength would be. So there's always a balance. Where there is weakness, there is strength somewhere. So for example, if you wrote down that your weakness is that you are immature or childish, you might be able to say that your strength there is that you are playful and that you are fun. So there's something kind of good about that weakness if we learn to really adapt it a little bit. So for myself, my biggest weakness is disorganization, hands down. That is my biggest weakness and something that I always have to give lots of time and attention to correct. So what I found, however, is that my corresponding strength is creativity. Something to think about is that a lot of times we don't really want to correct the weakness or really work on the weakness because somewhere inside we think it's going to affect the related strengths. So for example, I may have felt subconsciously myself that if I really addressed disorganization and became a really organized person, that maybe I would be too uptight to be creative and I wouldn't be able to have that creative lifestyle that I really enjoy. So we do have to really understand that it is definitely possible to keep the full spectrum of our strength, but yet still work on our weakness. So we can become organized and still be creative, just like we can become more mature and still be playful and fun. So one does not have to cancel out the other. So that's something to think about because oftentimes subconsciously that is actually what is happening. So from there we can go ahead and brainstorm solutions that would help us really address and improve upon our weakness in a way that really does not affect at all our strengths that we care about. So we want to go ahead and take time and really list out everything. We don't want to limit ourselves. A lot of times we don't write down things that we don't feel are very realistic for us, and it's only because we are letting our limiting beliefs really censor what we are thinking or what we are writing. So we just want to make sure that we are not limiting ourselves and that every viable possibility that could ever be makes it onto the page. And even if it doesn't seem viable, anything that that you can think of makes it onto the page, because a lot of times we can just kind of tweak it from there. But we want to definitely start to solution find. And going back to those limiting beliefs, we really want to make sure that we are actually addressing them and questioning them, because a lot of times, again, we do not make corrections or improvements or upgrades and changes in our life because we have this belief that we are who we are as people and we are not able to change. And that is simply not the case. Again, everything really is transformable. So if there is some fear that is really keeping us in a place that we don't want to be, we want to go ahead and address those fears so that we can move on and make these changes. Another thing that we need to start looking out for is the possibility that other people's opinions have affected how we believe ourselves to be. So it could be the case that people have told us over and over again we are a certain way, and so we believe that, and so we don't think we can make those changes, and that becomes a weakness for us. So just keep in mind that other people's opinions could have swayed you into thinking that you are a person that has this weakness, which may not be the case at all. We are not what other people say we are who we say we are. The next thing that we can do is to change our mindset. We need to start thinking as the person that already has these strengths. So we need to stop thinking of ourselves as the person that has this weakness and to start thinking of ourselves as the version of ourselves that we prefer to be. This is something that can really help our subconscious mind really grasp onto the idea that we are indeed changing as people and help us see things from a new perspective. So for example, if you are a person that feels that they are terrible in relationships and never meets the right person, and this is really a weakness for you, you want to start thinking of yourself in the complete opposite way, that you are a magnet for love, that you are extremely lovable, and the person that you really want to be with is ultimately out there looking for you also. Our mindset is so important to our reality. So if we start thinking as the person that we want to become, we are going to actually be able to be that person in the now. We can also get advice from people that excel in the area that we are looking to improve. So whatever the weakness that we think we have is, we want to find people that really have that as a strength. We want to ask them, how do you work on this? What are you doing to really cultivate this? This is something that's been very helpful for me personally as well. So once we have all this information, we want to go ahead and make a real action plan. So a step-by-step process that we are going to take that is going to lead us on the path of improvement in this specific area. So if we fail to do this, we just have a lot of ideas just kind of bouncing around our head, and it's never really going to lead anywhere. But if we make an action plan of specific steps that we can take so that we can see these changes actually taking place and be accountable for them, we're going to actually see a lot of progress. We also want to make sure that we are really celebrating our progress as we make it. We want to notice every little thing that is happening so that we can, make a big deal about it. It is so amazing when we make changes in our life. We want to make sure that we're really giving ourselves the credit that is due when that is actually happening. And the last thing that we can do, and I think this is really, really, really important, is to set a goal that is going to rely on us working on our weakness to try to achieve. So for example, what you could do in my situation, in a case where you are disorganized, is you can plan, let's say, a dinner party where your house is going to have to be perfectly clean and organized before people are coming to your house. So you will have a specific date and of course that specific goal that you are going to set for yourself, and this is going to definitely speed along the process because you are not going to want to disappoint other people or whatever it is for you. But you want to have some kind of goal and have a date for that goal so that you know that you are going to actively work for this on a regular basis and it's not going to get swept under the rug. Because there is a good chance, if this is a weakness, that is something we've been aware of for a long time. We just have not done anything about it. It's just like the people that put the same New Year's resolution on their list every single year. So we know it's there, but we really don't do anything about it. And we don't want to make that be the case for us. So go ahead and set a specific goal so you will have no choice but to take action immediately in the direction that you want to be going in. Remember, it is never too late to make any changes in your life. You're never too old to make changes, and your situation is never too far along that you can't make changes. I know sometimes it doesn't feel that way, but that is the reality. Change is always possible, but the change has to come from us. So hopefully you found these steps helpful, and I look forward to hearing what you want to work on and what you think that your weaknesses are, because you can definitely start to turn them into your strengths, which is a really fun process and really rewarding. And it's also going to really help progress your life in the way that you want it to be going. So I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please like it and share it with someone else who may need to hear the same message today. Also, again, if you aren't already a subscriber, please take a moment and become one. We definitely want you to stay connected, and I thank you so much for spending time with me today. Have an absolutely amazing day.